One of the challenges, I think, is the messaging people are getting is very contradictory. Being sold the idea of some kind of abundance through open celebrity magazines. If I have all that stuff, I'll be happy. Candy Brothers have just launched their new building, £100 million apartment, £6,000 per square foot. Even those people who haven't got money can still get a sense of abundance. They can get a Primark, they can buy 10 t-shirts for 30 quid. How are we going to overcome that? I know it's called, there's sort of cognitive dissonance, I think they call it, but it's, how are we going to overcome those contradictions? Because we don't have a threat like Hitler on our borders. It's a very far off distant threat, and it seems to me until it's a much closer to home threat, until people go to the shops, oh, where's the cod, where's the cheap t-shirts, it's all gone. What's going to be the spur?
I think perhaps the greatest aspect of the dissonance is where you have a rhetoric from governments, but then you don't have the action. And I think that is what leads people to say, well, they're saying it's this, but then it's not. And unless you see defences going up, because we know that the sea level is going to rise, unless people are seeing tangible moves from government of that kind, I think they do discount messages in a way they're being told, we've got to save the planet by turning our washing machines down 10 degrees, and it just doesn't make sense to them. So I think a lot of this is down to symbolic actions by government, and it is also by leadership from government. If they have the rhetoric, they have to have the measures that follow along. But as I said, I think the message is, if that is in place, it's going to be a little more difficult than the emerging threat of the 1930s in terms of clarifying that. But then there were an awful lot of people who discounted that threat as well. So it is more difficult, unless you do the steps that you need to do, which is about genuine leadership and about those kinds of symbols. People aren't going to respond. And I think the other element that has to go in is some element of fairness. That people feel, I'm going to do my bit, but I'm not doing it as an individual. People around me won't do it. So some government framework, which rationally may be the fairest way of doing it, comes in. So people go, well, I am prepared to do that because I know everyone else is part of the same response, and that communality is absolutely crucial. We don't have that at the moment.
Shopping has become the answer to everything, and if you look around town centres now, that wherever you go, you're being bombarded by more and more advertising telling you to go and buy more and more stuff. I mean, that is supposed to be the way to keep society compliant, presumably, and to keep the growth going. No one actually knows why GDP has to be higher than ever, and the benefits from it are fast being outweighed by the problems caused by it. So, I mean, it is going to be a pretty fundamental change in thinking. But I suppose trying to take some comfort from different places are some of the things that have been described by the panel in terms of where individuals are already, I think, beginning to have a bit of a backlash against that. I mean, I know Andrew has some examples of places where they are now advertisement-free, aren't they? That you can imagine public spaces where instead of being bombarded by telling yourself to go and buy all sorts of cheap things, it could be, just some inspiring words, or it could just be a picture, or it could just be nothing.